And in today's video, Mercedes wants payback after the slap in the face from last weekend and promises a new front wing for the Silverstone GP. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to another video on our Formula One sports channel. It might be a cliche in sports, right? After a lost race, there's always a chance for revenge following a rough weekend in Austria, where they even lost ground to McLaren, including Norris. The team promises to come back strong against their rivals, but this sentiment is certainly directed towards Red Bull. The old Silver Arrows have been nursing this wound for a long time, watching their main rival Red Bull win everything since the events of 2021. It's definitely something hard to swallow for them. However, at Silverstone, they will have perhaps their best opportunity to, in quotes, get revenge on Red Bull, as it's the ideal place for Mercedes. Both from the perspective of their drivers racing at home and the characteristics of the Silverstone track, which suit the W14 model very well after the updates introduced since Monaco. The expectation was to see the German team's cars steadily improving, race after race. But what we've witnessed is a car that performs well sometimes and poorly at other times, depending on the circuit's characteristics and the abilities of drivers Hamilton and George Russell, who have recently struggled against Ferrari and Norris's McLarens. However, the team is already planning a response for the British GP. Mercedes had already announced on their Twitter that they would bring an update for Silverstone even bigger than the Monaco update. I discussed this in a video that I'll link above. However, the team hadn't provided many details about what exactly would come, mentioning a new front wing, new side pods, and a new floor. According to the German magazine Automotorsport, Mercedes will bring to Silverstone a front wing completely rebuilt, and therefore is quite different from the previous one. The front wing is responsible for directing the entire airflow, which affects the car's performance at the rear. It needs to function efficiently. According to the magazine, wind tunnel test data showed results above expectations, which is very encouraging for Mercedes. However, its use in the race will be conditioned by tests in the early free practice sessions. In theory, Silverstone is a track that favors Mercedes much more as it features several high-speed corners, something that the W14 model adapts to very well. Similarly, historically, the Austrian circuit has always given more advantage to Red Bull, but it's all very theoretical and speculative. This is because Austria has some extremely high-speed corners that the Canadian circuit doesn't have. Nonetheless, the W14 performed better in Canada than in Austria last weekend. Taking into account Mercedes' history in Formula One, yes, the team has a strong tendency to excel at Silverstone as well. Another key factor that may change the balance of power in England is related to the tires. With the 2023 cars generating much more downforce than last year, Pirelli took action to modify the slick tires starting from Silverstone. The expectation is that the front tires will be reinforced to handle the aerodynamic power generated at the front of the cars. Mercedes hopes to gain another advantage with this tire alteration. Another team that can benefit greatly from this change is Ferrari, which has been struggling with it. Therefore, it's a team that we should also observe to see how they will react to these more durable new tires. After the sentiment left in Austria, they want revenge. Mercedes is racing at home, just like their two drivers. Winning is very important to them. The team also stated that they hope to return to the podium at the Silverstone track. The old Silver Arrows hope that this latest series of updates will be enough to bring Mercedes back as the second fastest team on the grid, especially on a circuit with many medium and high-speed corners where the car performs better. Toto Wolff said, "We scored a handful of points, but we didn't have the pace to score more. The field behind Red Bull is incredibly close, and we suffer from it every weekend. Part of it is circuit-specific, and part of it is due to updates across the grid. We are on the wrong side of that equation in Spielberg, but we have the chance to recover immediately." However, the truth, my friends, is that Mercedes promises a lot and delivers little. It has been the case throughout the season, and it was no different at the Austrian GP last weekend. I must admit that I would be surprised if they actually showed the necessary pace to compete with Red Bull, even on a circuit that greatly favors the W14. Therefore, Toto Wolff didn't want to jump to conclusions and continued, "We take the results in stride and will try to regain the momentum we built in previous races. The upcoming updates and experiments at Silverstone are reasons for optimism. However, we're not jumping to conclusions." Neither Mercedes nor any other team on the grid is capable of catching up to Red Bull. They are far ahead, and even if they were to match Red Bull's pace at Silverstone, hypothetically, they would never take the championship away from Max Verstappen and the Austrian team's lead in the constructors' standings. Race after race, Red Bull would still win, or at worst, score points. So, these updates are important for the other teams on the grid to start thinking about 2024, testing and developing new components. The gap between Red Bull and the other teams is immense, and the mentioned revenge would only be possible to reclaim the position of second force on the grid. But now, I want to know your opinion. Do you think Mercedes will surprise at Silverstone? Leave your comments. Oh, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. A big hug to you, and see you in the next video.